This Goodyear 400 2025 Betting Picks edition of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up at Underdog Fantasy, promo code RACESGPN to get up to $1,000 in bonus credits. We're also brought to you by Edge Boost. Get up to $750 in cashback rewards each month when you sign up at edgeboost.bet and use the promo code SGPN.
Driver, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'm just gonna put my foot on the floor and I'm not lifting till I see God or a checkered flag.
My man.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
We want to thank you tonight for these mighty machines that you brought before us. Thank you for the Dodges and the Toyotas. Thank you for the Fords. Lord, I want to thank you for my smoking hot wife tonight, Lisa. In Jesus' name, boogity, boogity, boogity.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
And of course, welcome in to another episode of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Fantasy Podcast. Now, I'm sorry, I'm trying to work in some kind of April Fool's thing, but I'm so bad at it that I don't even care anymore. But yeah, it is April Fool's. We're not pulling any pranks on you. We are putting an episode out. We're not stopping. In fact, Cody, by the way, happy 600th episode to you, my friend. This is a monumental. Look at that, my friend. Cracking open the Miller Lite.
600, Rod. Throwing it back for Rusty Wallace. Let's fucking go.
Yeah, I'm not throwing anything back. I'm throwing the beer back, but this is a new one that I haven't tried. Greenergy by New Glory. It's not a throwback, but it is definitely worthy enough for a episode 600. You know, Cody, most podcasts don't make it past episode 50.
That's what I've heard. Yeah, we've slightly passed number 50. If my counting doesn't fail me. So yeah, happy 600, Rod. It's throwback weekend. You got to watch on the YouTube because I got all decked out. I got the Ricky Rudd Haviland hat on. I got the Rusty Wallace jacket.
Man, that's such a beauty.
Buddy. And it's even autographed. Well, wait, that's on this side. Autographed down here. Yeah, let's fucking go. Shout out to my neighbor Ian. He hooked me up with this. Love that guy. Yeah. Oh, let's fucking go. Darlington Throwback Week. If you haven't seen all of the paint schemes for this weekend are great. And the odds this week, holy shit, the odds are even better than the paint schemes, Rod. I got a fucking loaded card because holy shit, they took them a minute to get them out, and that's a little bit why the later show, along with some other scheduling things, but they did not disappoint this week.
I feel like there's a nice little cat and mouse game we got going with the books now because I think they feel because the odds started dropping right about 2:00 Pacific, which is when we usually do the show. So I'm like, they're thinking, man, if we drop them now, they're going to be doing the show and they won't have time to adjust. My friends, we definitely have it. I don't have throwback attire. However, I do have throwback paint schemes. Why don't they bring this one back? This was a pretty paint scheme from the 48 when the Power of Pride.
Well, Hendrick is interesting on the throwbacks this weekend because fucking killed it with the number 5 paint scheme, throwing it back to Terry Labonte, throwing it back to the Frosted Flakes car, killed it with the Byron one. Of course, you throw it back to a Jeff Gordon 24. And then the Chase Elliott one is horrendous. It's ugly as fuck. And the Alex Bowman one is throwing it back to a Jimmy car, but it's that black Cobalt car that they've already thrown it back to like 17 other times. Like there's no other Jimmy cars they could have thrown this back to, or Dale Jr. cars. He also drove the 88. Like nothing. Couldn't come up with anything else. But yeah, I guess the 524 garage killed it, and the other side not doing so good.
I mean, what are you gonna do? I also have the Army car. It's a little dusty, so I apologize for that. But yeah, this is
like the Army. It's fine.
You son of a no. This is I love this one. I remember because when I first started watching, and it was Jerry Nadeau driving it, and then Nemechek also got there, and I remember, being fans of both of those guys when they were driving the Army cars. And we don't have that anymore, unfortunately, but I'd love to see them throw it back to a good old fashioned U.S. Army paint scheme, because those were fun to listen to. Those were fun to watch when we got there. So many folks in the chat, but I want to tell you real quick, though, that I don't know why you would pay for some touts Discord. Our Discord's always free, right? Our Discord has so many sharps in it right now. I got to tell you guys, the whole morning, as odds were dropping, there were some serious, and we already have one bet down. We'll talk about that in a second, right? I mean, this is how much our Discord moves lines. So don't pay for anybody's Discord. Just don't do it, right? Our Discord is way better. It's completely free. You can hang out with all of the racing DGens in there and just, talk to us. We have all kinds of great conversations going all days and all times of the week. So head over now to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord to get in there. And speaking of which, you get to mix it up internationally. Ash checking in, saying, morning, lads, 2 a.m. here. Ooh, man, little early morning NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
Yeah, let's go.
Like Chase Briscoe and Eric Jones this weekend, both to finish in the top 10. Eric's record solid here.
We're going to be talking about one of those guys today. So
I will caution you against the Eric Jones, though, because if you look at it, it's always the fall that he's the best at.
That is, let's jump into that quickly, because we talk about different lengths in the races, spring, fall. Sometimes, I know JDK in the Discord's been doing a lot of work about, like, are certain guys just better in spring races compared to fall races, or fall races compared to spring races? There is no fall spring race I look at more differently than Darlington, because this one's early in the season, and it's even earlier this year than it normally is. It's 400 miles on the track too tough to tame, the Lady in Black. But the fall race, 500 miles, that extra 100 miles, and sure, extra 100 laps last week at Martinsville. I don't think it makes as much of a difference there. But Darlington in the Southern 500, it's a big, prestigious race. An extra 100 miles on the track that's already too tough to tame, that's called the Lady in Black, makes a huge, huge difference. Certain guys, Eric Jones specifically, way better in the fall races very consistently. So as I go through a lot of my numbers today, you're going to see all Darlington stats wrapped up together, right? But I'm also going to specifically point out springtime performances, because I think that extra 100 miles makes more of a difference here than anywhere else. And of course, 100 less miles in this one.
Yeah, and it's weird to see, too, because as you start looking through the stats on some of these guys, it's like it's night and day. You see a great stat in the spring and then garbage in the fall, and then the next spring they come out and they do well again, and then garbage in the fall. So it isn't just something that we're making up to try to fit a narrative. It literally is happening in a lot of cases with this. So it's
it's it's not 100% like, oh, they'll only be good in one or the other. They could be good in both, or you could have good races and bad races. It doesn't always correlate, but there is certainly a lot of correlation.
Indeed. JDK saying odds are insane to back our point a little bit. Ash loving the Joey Logano paint scheme for Cale Yarborough. That is a
good one. Yes.
Dirty Rag saying the last cup race was awful. Please not that again. I want to get into that, but I kind of don't at the same time.
It was a short track race, and that's sort of what you expect from short, but I thought it was a pretty good race, really, and in a general sense. I don't know if I want that race every single week, but I thought there was enough storylines and enough things going on, and I thought it was a pretty good race overall.
All things considered, I was entertained by all weekend long. All weekend long had some great racing, and there was entertainment value to be had in each one of those races, right? Yeah, exactly. So to me, it's like it did its job at entertaining. I know we get so wrapped around the axle when it comes to the betting aspect of it, and if our bets don't cash because
but it wasn't. You had Hamlin outright, right, for the Cup race. Priest top four hit with a 9th place finish, I think it was. That was 12-1. I know a couple of our things didn't work. Necessarily, like the Bowman Busher top 10 failed us this week. Some other stuff that didn't hit, but there was some stuff out there. So Xfinity finish was epic. Yeah, that's a word you could use to describe it, certainly.
It was. And my brother digging your throwback threads. That's the whole point of it right there. So.
Yeah, Lee checking in. And yeah, JDK too. He's been putting together like some spreadsheets, some crazy data stuff. He posts all that in the Discord, and like we're not paying him to do that. He's just doing it for the love of the game, basically. So, get over there and check that out. What is this? Pokters and Henry saying Hemrick winning the trucks was fun AF. Yeah, that was fun AF. And yes, called my shot on Hemrick this year, and he's already got a win in the bank. Gotta love it. So yeah, let's go.
Hey, I mean, again, we don't have to bleep out anytime we don't have to bleep out his name on the show. It is a fantastic day, right? That's exactly what you're looking for.
We put that button away for him. You want to get into some news, Rod? There was a little news here recently.
Yeah, let's get into it. What I don't have the breaking news stuff, but go ahead, Cody. Hit it with
going back to last week's race, Eric Jones, we just talked about a minute ago. If you didn't see, after the race was fined, or not fined, but was declared too light in post-race tech. So he just scored to the last place finish, no stage points or anything. Luckily, DFS results are final, and he helped me take down the DFS contest that we posted in the Discord this week. So that was great. Thank you for that. But yeah, that happened. Today, Sammy Smith was docked 50 points for taking out Taylor Gray at the end of the Xfinity race at Martinsville. Of course, that chaotic ending. Fined $25,000 as well. And then Taylor Gray and Jeb Burton were both fined $5,000 for going into the care center area to confront drivers. That's a no-no, obviously, if you're in the care center. It's for treatment and whatnot, so should not go there for those things. So those fines were handed out. JRM has already released a statement saying they're not going – and going back to the Eric Jones thing, they're not going to appeal his penalty. They were light. They just accepted it. And then Sammy Smith, JRM has already said they're not going to appeal. They're just going to take the 50 points. It drops him to 13th in the points. And then they'll pay the penalty as well. I saw a statement from Jeb Burton saying that he accepted, apologized. It's a $5,000 fine. I don't think they're too worried about something like that. I'd imagine the same thing for Taylor Gray as well.
Oh, Taylor Gray was going to administer some treatment in the care center. He
was not as mad as I wanted him to be. I wanted him to be a lot more mad than he was, especially as he was walking towards the care center. He just was like, are you going to get it back? Maybe we'll see. Who knows? Like, no, be fucking mad, bro. Come on.
So the thing about that, and this will be where I leave it, because we could have an entire episode based just solely on that one interaction. When you talk about it's just short track, or it's just, you know what I'm saying? Like there's always these things that we make. It's like, rubbing is racing and beating and banging. And we romanticize that kind of racing. But when you travel half a straightaway down or half a corner down and literally like plant your front bumper into the guy's rear bumper, dude, that's more than just, I mean, that was egregious.
It was egregious. And he did it twice. Like the way that he moved Taylor out of the way the first time wasn't great. I mean, he didn't completely wreck him, but Gray then very respectfully did it the way you should, right? Mm-hmm. You give him a little nudge and just kind of slide him up. And then obviously, even though he had pulled away a bit, Sammy just full send and took out half the field. I mean, he destroyed his car, destroyed Allgaier's cars. That's 2 JRM cars they destroyed. A lot of other things. So pretty crazy there. There was some breaking news today as well, Rod. Not an April Fool's joke. This is real news. Legacy Motor Club is now getting in the lawsuit game, along with their Toyota buddies over there at 2311. They have filed a lawsuit against Rickware Racing, claiming that Rickware Racing is trying to back out of a signed agreement to sell one of its charters. So it was all posted, the lawsuit. A lot of it's redacted, pending whatever court or whatever you want to say. But essentially, Legacy learned. So Legacy is the one filing this, and here's their claim. They learned that a charter owned by Rickware Racing. So just to kind of go back on this, Rickware Racing owns 2 charters. They own the number 51 charter that is driven by Cody Ware. They also own the number 60 charter that's driven by Ryan Preece. That charter is leased to RFK Racing, and RFK, fields that car for Ryan Preece, and it's their car, their team. The charter just comes through Rickware Racing. So they learned that a charter owned by RWR, led by its owner and former driver Rick Ware, was on the market for purchase. Strapped for cash and unable to compete at the Cup Series level by its own admission. Interesting. Throwing him under the bus there. RWR needed to sell one of its 2 charters. So on the morning of January 6th, 2025, they met with RWR things, whatever. Then on March 3rd, so March 3rd of 2025, we're into the season now. Legacy, it's just April 1st, right? So not even a month ago. Legacy and RWR executed a charter purchase agreement So it was signed. And despite having this in place, RWR now has cold feet. They want to back out. They've told Legacy it will not, under any circumstances, close the party's transaction. Legacy has tried to talk sense into RWR to no prevail. Legacy's patience has run out. It's bringing this suit forward. Not only did they sign the agreement, they initialed every page for good measure, Legacy says, in the lawsuit that was filed. So interesting there on a couple of notes. One being Legacy looking to expand. And so this charter, this was for 2027. So it wouldn't have gone into effect next year, but in two seasons essentially. So interesting there, is that the 51 charter? Is that the 60 charter they're selling out from underneath RFK? And then maybe that's why they got cold feet now. I don't know what the deal is there. But also Legacy looking to expand to add a third car. Corey Haim, getting him up into Toyota, I think would make the most sense. But and then obviously we're racing, according to Legacy, not able to afford the Cup Series. So interesting there as well.
Jimmy ain't playing around. I'm telling you, Jimmy's keeping receipts. He is all about wanting to get that team up there. So I'm all about
it with Jimmy Johnson.
Let's go. That's my favorite shirt.
I just happened to be wearing this shirt today, and then that lawsuit news came out after I had it on, and I was like, oh yeah, buddy, already wearing the Legacy Jimmy Johnson shirt. Let's go.
Oh, that's so beautiful. That's like when Superman just rips open his shirt and shows his S on his chest. You just pulled one of those, my friend. Now listen, this is going to be a lot of fun to keep an eye on. Obviously, Legacy expanding. I'm all about it. So give it to me. Give it all to me. I love it. And Rick Ware. Yeah, I don't know that we didn't see the writing on the wall for that one already, but
I mean, I don't know. I don't know where he gets his money from, but he's got NHRA teams, IndyCar teams, like motocross teams. He's got motorsports teams everywhere. None of them are good, I don't think. He's got some IMSA teams. I think like they're all just mediocre or bad, but he's got a million teams. So and he's played the charter game right, really. So I don't know. It'll be interesting, I guess, to see how this one shakes out, and if Legacy does end up adding that third full-time car in 2027 like they plan to.
Well, we'll just make sure the NASCAR Gambling Podcast is the main sponsor on that car.
And Jimmy Johnson makes his full-time return. Chasing 8, they're going to call it, Rob.
That's going to look so pretty on that number. 84 car. I love it. All right. Speaking of all that good stuff, we're going to throw back Darlington style when we come back. But first, I would like to tell you about our friends at Edge Boost. SGPN has partnered up with Edge Boost, the premier Visa debit card for bettors. An Edge Boost card allows you to avoid the hassle of having your card denied at the sportsbook, DFS site, sweepstakes site, racetrack, casino, wherever it is they keep telling you no. Edge Boost breaks down those barriers and gets you in the door. Plus, you can earn up to $750 per month in cashback rewards for using your Edge Boost card. And you know your money's safe. The card is FDIC insured. The best part is no credit check, and it is completely free. So sign up today at edgeboost.bet, promo code SGPN. Now I'll tell you about MyBookie. We're brought to you by MyBookie.ag. MyBookie is your place to bet every sport, including all those crown college basketball games. Yeah, those things are going on right now. Make sure you go get to MyBookie and get in on the action. Plus props for every game. MyBookie accepts customers from a ton of locations. There's easy deposits and lightning fast payouts. You can actually use cryptocurrency to get all that stuff going in right now. Looking right now at some of the MLB lines for the night. San Francisco completely killed Houston last night, and I think they may do it again. They're favored by 1.5, but you can get this at plus 150. San Francisco minus 1.5 at plus 150 over on mybookie.ag. Yes, grab that. They will totally clear them by 2 runs. Love me, my Giants, so give me them over on mybookie.ag. Head to mybookie.ag, promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit match up to $1,000. That's mybookie.ag, promo code SGPN. Or you could take all your money and bet against the Sacramento/Oakland/Las Vegas A's and rake in the money, because those guys are – Sacramento loves the fact that they're there, and I don't know that they do anymore. Like, it's like, and they're gone. But
is it September already? Baseball season started? Weird. I thought it was only April.
The only reason I said that was because I panicked when I realized I had to say a bet during the MyBookie read, and I was like, baseball's going. So, that was my first.
There you go.
All right. To the Darlington Raceway we go, Cody, for the Goodyear 400, set for 293 laps around this 1.366 mile. Lady in black, track too tough to tame. You're going to earn your Darlington stripe. It's going to happen. And this is where we separate the drivers from the drivers. Yes, that's where we're at.
That's right. Yeah, I'm super excited for this one. You know, mentioned it kind of at the top of the show. Gonna be looking back at spring races here particularly, but Darlington as a whole, much like many of the other tracks, we've had 6 races here in the next gen era. You can even peek back a little farther than that if you want. No other true comparisons really to this one. I do think that you could take some stuff from Homestead. That race was just 2 weeks ago. It's a worn out surface, similar in size. You run the wall a lot, which they're going to do here. There are definitely some qualities that can transfer over there. So I do think that the Homestead race a couple of weeks ago is a good place to look as well. All right, I've got a loaded fucking card this week, Rod. There was a lot of good stuff out there. It's a lot of top 10s. I'm going to tell you that right now. We're going to be rooting for specific guys to finish in the top 10, but I think that this is a winning strategy. So we're going to start off with a guy that has to finish in the top 10, but also inside the top 5, and I think he's going to do that, and it's Denny Hamlin, -110 for a top 5 finish for Denny Hamlin. I came into the season putting him in the grave, sending him into retirement, sailing him off on the ship. I was fucking wrong. I 100% admit that. Denny Hamlin has impressed me this season. He's looked good. I thought the crew chief thing, maybe the crew chief wasn't the problem, Ron. Sorry, Ty GIbbs, but he's looked great, right? They've partnered up well. Wins his first race at Martinsville in over 10 years, or in 10 years, right? At 15 was the last time he had won there. And he's looked really good. The 10th place there, or the win there, rather. 5th place at Miami. Had a rough day at Las Vegas with a bad finish, but second at Phoenix. He was leading at the end of the Daytona 500. He has looked pretty good overall so far this season. You come back here to Darlington, 7th place finish in the fall here. 4th last spring, top 5. 12th in the 2023 spring race. 2nd in the fall of 2022. So has had some good runs lately. He's been top 5 in 4 of the last 6 spring races here. So again, to highlight the spring race, even pre-next gen car, 4 of the last 6, pretty solid for Denny Hamlin. Yeah, look, there is a time where you got to flip on or off a train, depending on how things are going. It's time to get on the Denny Hamlin train. He showed us, you were on it last week. Props to you. You talked him up in the DFS show, which he led 200 plus laps. I mean, you had to have him in DFS. I did. Had a great day in DFS. I'm taking your advice. So thank you for that. And you had him to win, of course, outright. You hit that as well. So now, and this is the 3-race stretch where you want to be all in on Denny. Martinsville, Darlington, Bristol. That is like Denny Hamlin. That is, if he could have a 3-race schedule, that would be the schedule, I'm pretty sure, because he loves these tracks. He's good at them. So kind of all in on Denny right now for the top 5. And then top 10s kicking it off here. There is a lot of them today, and I think for good reason, because they're giving us really good numbers. But Chris Buescher, going back to the well, he's +130. I was conversing with our buddy JDK before the show a little bit ago. We were exchanging some direct messages, talking about some stuff. I was like, leaving the Buescher thing off. He talked me into it, so I'm putting this one on you, JDK. But you get the credit if it hits too. How do you leave him out, right? 6th place finish last year in the spring race, but it came down to him and Reddick at the end of this thing. They were going balls to the wall at each other. Reddick kind of overstepped a little bit, kind of cleaned them both out. Keselowski ends up winning, Buescher's teammate. Great. You like to see that, right? That's when Buescher got into Reddick's face after, you've got the sticker on your window. I don't have the sticker. The win sticker, of course, he was talking about. But he's been top 10 in 3 of the last 4 here. So been consistent here. Last week, somebody left the taco shells in the oven a little bit too long. That beautiful, beautiful old El Paso car was destroyed. Did not cash for us, but it's been good this year. 4 top 10s in 7 races. And I think he's going to rebound this week. He's been good at this track. He's been good this season. Brad won here last year. He should have maybe won here last year. So I love this. And I'm going back to the well on the Chris Buescher top 10 at +130.
Yeah, yeah. When Priest is the best RFK driver out of the garage right now, I'm just saying,
hey, Priest had a big bet for us last week, top 4.
He really did too.
And don't worry, he's coming up in the show later.
Yes, he is. Yeah, no, look and if you look historically, you're right. RFK has definitely been solid on this track. So I think we can't ignore RFK on here. And yeah, Buescher's probably going to end up getting it done. And just like JDK said, he'll take the hit if this one doesn't hit. So thank you, JDK, for taking the blame. All right, somebody we really hit big on too was Bubba Wallace last week. And I'm going to take him in a matchup over Chase Briscoe. Bubba Wallace minus 110 over Chase Briscoe. On the surface of this, if you just kind of look at the last few spring finishes, it's all been Briscoe, right? Briscoe finished 5th in the spring of 2024, where Bubba Wallace finished 7th. And then you look at the spring of 2023, Bubba Wallace finished 5th, but Chase Briscoe finished 17th. So it kind of flip-flopped on that one. In the spring of 2022, Chase Briscoe once again hit Bubba Wallace. Briscoe 20th, Bubba 27th. But really, what I'm looking at right now is especially our friends over at iFantasy Race. They have a chart, or actually they have a page dedicated to the next gen top 10, and it gives you all of the average finishes, speed rankings, all that stuff laid out. Bubba Wallace 7th into this one, actually tied for 5th, really, with Tyler Reddick and Denny Hamlin as far as average finishes is concerned. 11.8 Chase Briscoe, 14.2. That's 3 spots, but that's still pretty much 3 spots. When you look at the next gen speed rankings, Bubba Wallace tied for 7th with Ross Chastain. There is no mention of Chase Briscoe in the top 10 for speed rankings. So finish wise, Briscoe may be fine, but he doesn't run up in the front all there. And then driver rating, Bubba Wallace 8th in that. Average running position, Bubba Wallace 5th in that. He's fast at this track. He's good at this track. And look at it this way. In the last 2 races, Bubba Wallace has beaten Chase Briscoe with 2, count them, 2 third place finishes. Cody, you said take Homestead into account when you start talking about Darlington. Well, guess what? 3rd place at Homestead after starting 9th. 3rd place at Martinsville after starting 8th. This 23 team is not messing around anymore. And Bubba, as nonchalant as Bubba can get sometimes, is actually feeling very confident. That new crew chief and him have hit on something now. There's some, and he said it in the interview too. He's like, listen, man, we're all in on this together, and we're learning each other. And I got to say, that learning curve may have just stopped, and we may have started seeing the best out of Bubba Wallace. As for Chase Briscoe, look, I get it. He's had a couple of good finishes, right? The 9th place at Martinsville, the 4th place at Homestead. But I'm still not convinced. I'm still thinking the 17th from Vegas, the 35th from Phoenix. That's the Chase Briscoe that we're seeing. The last couple of weeks have just kind of been, he's been at the right place at the right time when crazy stuff, different strategies, whatever it was, got him there, not necessarily the raw speed of that 19. So I love what Bubba's cooking. I love what's happening there. Briscoe, maybe not as comfortable yet in his new position. He may be getting there, but Bubba still bested him over the last 2 weeks. So give me Bubba Wallace again over Chase Briscoe.
Yeah, Dirty Reg saying Wallace a lot better driver than I want to give him credit for. You and a lot of people don't want to give him credit. He is a good driver, and he's been outperforming the 45 the last couple of weeks. I mean, Tyler is still a god in my eyes. Don't worry, but he's looked really good. I'm kind of saved my thoughts on both these drivers because I actually have thoughts on both of them going forward. I don't know if this matchup's as easy as you think, maybe, Rod. I do love some Bubba Wallace this weekend, though, so I'm not going to argue with you too much on it.
I think it will be close. I honestly, like I said, if you laid out the last couple, it's been a couple of spots, right? And even the average finishing position is within a 3 spots. So this will be a close one, but I really think that Bubba is so on to something right now. And honestly, Cody, and we'll get to this when we get to the outrights, but if you look at this, there has not been a repeat winner in the spring. In fact, there has not been a repeat winner on this track for a very long time. So, I mean, this is an up in the air race, in my opinion. So Bubba Wallace, you're going to make a case for it in a little bit, but I think he's got a good stake to this. I don't know I can say the same about Briscoe.
All right. I like it.
All right. Well, let's see, Cody, should we go commercial free and then get to the rest of all this stuff?
Let's do it.
All right, let's go commercial free. That way we got plenty of more top 10 bets to get down on. So hang tight with us as we tell you about Underdog Fantasy. It's time for my bonus Underdog Fantasy Pick'em. Hey, listen, if you have not already gotten down and started listening to our Underdog Fantasy picks, we absolutely mopped the floor last week with our Underdog picks. They really came through in a clutch, and you guys would have definitely won some money out there if you would have gone with those Underdog Fantasy picks. Underdog Pick'em lets you play any sport, and you can win up to 100 times your money. There's not just NASCAR on there. There's NHL, there's esports, there's PGA, there's League of Legends. Right now, there's NFL season-long picks that you can make. Jamar Chase, do you think he's going to have higher than or lower than 11.5 receiving TDs? Tell you what, they got to get him more than that, right? So I'm going to say higher than 11.5 receiving TDs for Jamar Chase in the 2025 season. That is going to be my bonus pick. Lock it in now, and then just think of it as an investment later on in your life. Sign up right now with our promo code RACESGPN. You're going to claim a special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus credits. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Promo code RACESGPN. Let me tell you about Rhythm. Rhythm is your home for AI picks and props. Rhythm is now live for Major League Baseball. Plus, they got models for NBA and golf. Totally love building myself out some Rhythm plays, especially for season long, which is what I will do for NFL when I get there. So looking to back up my Jamar Chase touchdown play with Rhythm. Sign up today for a free trial at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. All right. So let the parade of top 10 finishers begin.
All right, Rod. I feel like Oprah here. You get a top 10. You get a top 10. You get a top 10. And Josh Berry gets a top 10 plus 160. Look, I am on the Berry train. I talked about it on the DFS show last week. It ended up not working out because of the result, but it should have been a good play. They pull the strategy. He leads 40 laps last week at Martinsville. Things are looking good. Wrong place, wrong time. I think it was Bubba Wallace he made contact with on pit road, knocked the battery out essentially, and they just kept going through batteries, and then they actually ran out of batteries at the end of the day, which unfortunate, but he looked good, kind of carried that momentum last week, so you like that. He won at Las Vegas, obviously, so that's a good feather in the cap. Again, intermediate track, a little bit of tire wear, right? Not overly comparable to Darlington, but some characteristics there as well. The fourth place at Phoenix, also, he's been doing well. Harrison Burton actually wasn't bad here for Harrison Burton. 21st and 22nd last year. I get those aren't top 10s, but for what Harrison brought to this car compared to what Josh has brought to the car so far, you could definitely make the connection there. But sixth place finish for Harrison Burton in May of 2023, spring race, notably. And Josh Berry, one spring start here, third place. Not too bad, right? That last time I checked was inside of the top 10. All the momentum he's carrying lately, he just did it last year at this track. Things seem to be going extremely well in the Wood Brothers camp right now. I'm aboard the Berry train. Again, we can have takes and we can feel certain way about guys. And I was off Hamlin coming into the season. I was off Berry coming into the season. But you've got to adjust. You've got to go with what you're seeing. And I am seeing what I want to see from these guys. So give it to me. Now I say all that to give you a top 10 for Ty GIbbs plus 220. I know that kind of goes against what I just said, but I feel like over the last couple of weeks, we're starting to see still catching some bad breaks. The results haven't completely been there. Yes, I get it. 13th place last week. So again, they've sort of figured some stuff out, but last year in this race, second place finish, and really he was kind of running Brad down there at the end, had a shot at it, I think, for a little bit. So, and he was second and third in the stages. So it was all day long. He looked good. He actually led 34 laps throughout the day. I like that. It's this week at Bristol and next week. I've been telling you since the offseason, Bristol was going to be his win. I will be betting him to win the race next week at Bristol. If he doesn't pan out in one of these 2 weeks, I'm done. I will not talk about Ty GIbbs again until he wins, Rod. But plus 220 for the top 10. I think that he's going to have a really good shot this week. Mile and a halfs were kind of his better suit last year, where he performed better just in a general sense. This one is close to that, being the intermediate style, so I like it. And then Ryan Preece, top 10. I'm going to toss this one in there as well. Plus 250. Just a lot of good numbers on these so far. Last four races coming into this, 7th, 9th, 3rd, 15th. Those are his last four races this season. 3 top 10 finishes in a row. You said it earlier, the best performing RFK car so far, which was not on anybody's bingo. It wasn't even on Ryan Preece's mom's bingo card coming into this season, but it's been the case. Last four races here, 12th, 17th, 15th, or 12th, 12th, 17th, 28th, 15th, and 12th. So over the last 5 here, he's got 4 top 17 finishes, been close to those top 10 finishes. Stewart-Haas equipment, lesser stuff, especially the 41 car. Now he's kind of stepped into what's so far been a great situation. Again, adapt, and what we're seeing is what you have to kind of start leaning in towards. 17th and 15th in the last 2 spring races, so he's been good. Of course, mentioned earlier, Brad Keselowski won the spring race last year. Chris Buescher, the other one of the best cars in this race. You love to see those 2 things for Priest. So I'm going to take his top 10 at plus 250 as well.
I love the Barry one for sure. We got totally screwed. Pit Road just pissed me off this last week, and I was very unhappy with Pit Road.
Yeah. It's part of the game, but it sucks when stuff like that happens because it just, that fraction of a second difference, he doesn't get hit. He doesn't get hit right there where it specifically knocks the battery out, and maybe that's a completely different race. And with the strategy they're running, maybe he's in competition for the win even at the end of the day.
I was thinking the same thing. That 21 car was looking pretty damn good. I will refrain from commenting on Ty GIbbs lest I piss off Ty GIbbs fans anymore. I'm out. I don't even want to consider.
You've been out, Rod. Nobody was questioning that.
This is true. My stance on him has been.
You've been right so far. So there you go. Props to you for that.
But a driver I am coming around on, and thanks to you, is Zane Smith again. Obviously, we love him a lot in the truck series, but tell you what, man, Zane Smith been creeping up into relevant territory and definitely relevant for this group. Thank you, Caesars, for Group F over on your book. Plus 220 for Zane Smith to win against Austin Hill, making his 11th Cup Series start in his career. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who is still driving for some reason, and Cole Custer, who is also participating in this weekend's race with a throwback to a better day for that 41 car. So here's the deal, right? Zane Smith, just him on face value so far this season in that 38 car, 19.3 average finish on the year, 16th last week, 11th at Homestead, 23rd at Vegas. All right, it happens, but he started 9th in that race. He finished 9th at Phoenix after starting 26th. He finished 11th at Atlanta. I mean, this is a guy who has adapted to every track type that they've thrown at him this season and been within spitting distance, if not inside of the top 15 in this front row motor 38 car. So I think he's got the speed enough in that car to beat Austin Hill, who, again, like I said, making his only 11th Cup Series start in his, I know he's driving the 33. I know he's driving a Richard Childress car. I get that. I understand that. But I mean, look, so is Kyle Busch and Austin Dillon, right? And I believe that Zane Smith has gotten the best of either one of those on several occasions this season. So I'm not scared there. And again, even if you look at Austin Hill, Xfinity Series wise, in that 21, speaking of 21s, speaking of Bears, he's been fantastic, right? But we know that's him swimming in a much smaller pond than he is going to be swimming in this Sunday. So again, not scared by Austin Hill in that 33 car. I mean, if I'm scared of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. over anybody else, then you got to get me checked. 23.9 his average finish on this track in his career. He's got 3 top 10 finishes in 25 starts. I wish they would give me top 15 finishes because I feel like that's only about the same as his top 10 finishes. So definitely not scared of Ricky Stenhouse, especially this season in general, right? Ricky Stenhouse has not been somebody to be feared in the totalitarian of this season. 1 top 10, 1 top 5, right? But that came back in Atlanta. Since then, 20th, 24th, 18th, 21st, 18th, nothing to write home about. Cole Custer, average finish this season, 28.4, a 33rd last week at Martinsville, 28th at Homestead, 26th at Vegas, 32. I can't even read them because the rest of the numbers gross me out. His average finish here at this track in the Cup Series, in that 41, 21.6. All I'm saying, Zane Smith, you're going to be watching him run around the top 20, around the top 15, and he's going to be beating all these guys. And I think by the end of the day, that will hold true. All these guys are probably going to have trouble except for Zane. Zane keeps his car clean, beats everybody in Group F, and gets you a plus 220 to do it.
Yeah, you brought up a good point there. Austin Hill is in this Cup race. We forgot to talk about the entry list. Austin Hill is in the 33 car. Of course, he's going to be making a few starts in that one this season. But I love this. I love Zane Smith this week. I love Zane Smith every week. I'm out on Custer. Stenhouse, he's going to jump up. He's going to have his spots. He's actually had some decent runs at this track, but in an overall sense, not great. And the hill part of it, I don't know that you could trust that third RCR car, like you said. Busch and Dillon have their spots. Hill's still learning. He's still not even a rookie in the Cup Series. Like, this is pre-rookie levels, right? You're just making a few starts, kind of getting your feet wet for hopefully beating the Cup Series in the future. So I like this, and actually I'm going to pile on top of it because I've got Zane Smith top 10 at 9-1. This is a great number. I love this for Zane Smith. He has got 3 top 16 finishes in the last 4 races this season. So to the momentum thing, to going into this race hot, 2 of those being intermediate tracks. I guess one of those being intermediate tracks with no, because it was Vegas and Homestead. So 2 of them being intermediate tracks. I was right the first time. That's right. 11th place at Miami, by the way. Again, very many comparisons from Miami to this. As far as what we've had this season, the only thing really you could even kind of look at other than Vegas and draw some pretty good comparisons. So last season, 23rd here in the fall, 35th here in the spring, but he wrecked early in that race. There was an early wreck that took out a couple of guys. And so you didn't really get to see anything. Not too worried about that. Also early last season was, when he was still struggling at Spire there, they weren't having the results. But as we went down the season, things got a lot better for Zane. We've talked about this a bunch, but at 9-1, I can't remember who it was in the Discord, either Sour D, Optimal Locks, one of those guys was talking about just hit it again this week. Zane Smith top 10. It's basically an every week play along with Todd Gilliland, and I'm running with him too. Also 9-1. It's a lot of the same arguments. 13th place run last season. He just kind of continues to, or no, I don't know. I was looking at the wrong thing there. Anyways.
You're throwing back to a different stat.
I was actually, that was the GIbbs line. GIbbs, Gilly, they're right next to each other. Wrong G. So let's start that over. He's been top 17 of 4 of 6 races here. That alone is pretty good for what he's done in the 38 car. Now, of course, he's in the 34 car, the more stepped up car if you want, whatever. But he's been in the mix within 7 spots in 4 of the 6 races. So you like that. He was 11th place here in the spring of 23, so almost at a top 10 in the spring race. 17th, 11th, 15th are his 3 spring race results. So those have been better than the fall results. Again, to the spring-fall difference, he's been better in the spring than he has in the fall. And he just loves the number 17 for whatever reason. But he's got 4 top 17 finishes in 7 races this season. So he's been very competitive in that 34 car. And I think that, to the guys in the Discord's point, these guys might just be a rinse and repeat top 10 at 9-1 every single week. I know I gave you a lot of top 10s here, right? I've given you, 6 top 10s so far, and spoiler alert, there's another one later. They're not all going to finish in the top 10. That's not how it works, but you're getting good value on all of these. That none of them have been minus money. They're all plus money. If you hit one of these Gilly or Smith ones at 9-1, that's going to pay for the rest of them anyways. But the idea here is to hopefully hit on multiple of these. So that's just kind of the thought process. But there are so many good value top 10s out here. If you're listening to this and you're just like, well, that's a lot of top 10s. Yes, it is. And they're not all going to hit. Now, if they do all hit, we're having a fucking party next week, Rod. But the idea is all of these guys have the ability to finish top 10, and a few of them should, in which case it's going to turn into a positive day for us.
Think of last week. I mean, look, we talked about Todd Gilliland in the DFS episode, right? I mean, that was one of the biggest things where I said, look, if he gets anywhere near starting toward the back, he's got the possibility of a top 15 finish on this track. He got a top 10 finish out of you. That was 15 places that he made up from 25th to 10th, right? Ryan Preece, same thing. Started 21st, finished 7th. I mean, these guys were big numbers for top 10s and for top manufacturers. So to me, again, if you hit one of these, it pays for the other 2 or 3 that you miss out on. But a lot of these guys, I mean, this is why we do this. This is why we give you the options that you get on this show, because, Poke Deers and Henry says, love it. That's exactly why we do it, right?
Yeah, and your brother going back to talk about Austin Hill there a second ago. Trust the third RCR car. I barely trust the first 2. So, yeah, to the point on taking the Smith over Hill in that group. Hard to trust that third RCR car completely at this point.
Indeed it is. All right. Well, then let's go to a guy that I tend to give quite a bit of crap to over the years. And I think I've retired him more times than Cody's retired Denny Hamlin. And that is Brad Keselowski in that 6 car. I know Cody's been high on RFK all season long, but I also feel like this is a spot for obviously Brad Keselowski to turn things around at plus 140. You get a better number over on Bet365 if you got it. Plus 140 for Brad K as a top 10 finisher. His average finish in the Darlington Next Gen era, one spot outside of the top 10, 11th place altogether. But that number kind of gets skewed by a couple of the outliers, which you talk about in the spring. The 14th place that he had last spring, and then a 34th place, unfortunate day that he had in the spring of 2021. Outside of that, Brad Keselowski in 5 next-gen races out of 7, or 4 out of 6. Yeah, 4 out of 6. Sorry, I had to count. I had to take off my sock for a second and count it. 4 out of 6. He has been inside of the top 10, including a 7th place in the fall of 2022, a 4th place in the spring of 2023, a 6th place in the fall of 2023, and a 1st place finish and of course, Cody talked about that, how that all shook loose, but a win in the spring of 2025. Lee Norton saying he's a sneaky top 5 bet. He absolutely is. I get it, especially twice what you're getting as a top 10. I do like that as well, but I just feel more comfortable, especially given the fact that Brad Keselowski so far this season has sort of just made me vomit a little bit over the course. I mean, 26th last week, 25th the week before that. He did have an 11th at Vegas, still not a top 10, 33rd at Phoenix, 15th at Austin, 39th at Atlanta, 26th at the Daytona. I have been totally out on Brad Keselowski and most of RFK for the whole entire season. But if you just look at the finishes, it doesn't matter what's gone on around him. He's been able to put these finishes together at this particular track. It's a track that he's good at. It's a track that he's comfortable at. It's a track that RFK is good at. So I'm not going to miss out on a Brad Keselowski top 10 if and when it actually does happen, because look, like I said, I'm willing to adapt. I'm willing to give way. Once Ty GIbbs starts to be good again, I'm willing to jump back on him as well. But till then, I'm out on him. But I'm in on Brad Keselowski. So give him to me at plus 140 to finish inside of the top 10. This guy right here, my friends, Haley. Oh, Steven jumping in at just the right time. Haley and McDowell, top 10, 50%, top 10 success rate over the last 6 races at Darlington.
Oh, this would have been another top 10 on my card if Rod didn't steal it.
You are in the dock, my friend. Justin Haley, 10th place at Homestead this last weekend, 14th or a couple of weekends ago, 14th at Las Vegas, 16th at Coda. Justin Haley in that 7 car. Actually really pretty sneaky play overall. Love this play. And for Justin Haley, that 7 car has actually been much more fast, I think, than a lot of us have actually given it credit for, right? Spires hit on something. And just like Steven said, 50% success rate. He did finish 9th in the spring of of last year, 8th in the spring of 2023, 3rd in the spring or in the fall rather of 2022, on the spring of 2022 rather. So he is 3 for 3 inside of the top 10 in the last 3 spring races. But this is where I was talking about earlier, right? When you talk about spring versus fall. In the spring, I said a 3rd place in 2022. In the fall, 19th. In the spring of 2023, 8th place. In the fall, 24th. In the spring of 2024, 9th. In the fall, 27th. Like it's, yeah.
In the equipment he was in, that makes so much sense that it couldn't last that extra 100 miles.
Yeah.
Those 3 for 3 in the top 10 in Rickware Racing last year. In Colleague the other 2 years. Absolutely fucking impressive. Like JDK said, 100% inside the top 10 in the spring race for Haley. You can get him a 9-1. He was 10-1 when it opened, and JDK smashed it so hard immediately that it dropped down. So I think I need to check. Somebody said Caesars opened him at like plus 250. They just didn't even. They were obviously in our Discord and said we're not even going to fuck with that.
It was 550 when I first saw it in Caesars, and then JDK was like, "Yeah, but it's plus 900." And I went over to 365. There it was at plus 900. I was like, "You got to be freaking kidding me!" Or 10-1 rather. And then it got bet down.
And then it got bet down to 9-1. Yeah.
Thanks, JDK.
Yeah, way to go on that. But still, get it in, and I'll get it early because, there's a good amount of shows out there, and I think that probably a lot of people are going to be talking about Haley this week and drop that number down fairly quickly because it's a very obvious play at the number you're getting at for a guy who's never not done it, and he was in shittier equipment. I mean, Spire isn't the greatest upgrade in the world, but it certainly is an upgrade over Rick Ware and Colleague, I think, especially in the years that Haley was there. So, I really love that play. Oh, it's hard for me to get completely on board with Keselowski. I know he won here last year. I know he looked good, plus 140, but you were hesitant on Buescher at plus 130 when he's the better track record. Brad has been underwhelming so far this year, but my RFK love will continue here in a moment. So, we're going to go with that. Bubba Wallace, top Toyota. We did this one last week. It's 7-1 this week. He finished third last week. Now, he wasn't the top Toyota. Obviously, Jenny wins, but if you're telling me going into a race that a guy's going to finish third, and you get him at 7-1 to be the top finishing manufacturer, you're going to take that because guess what? We hit it on Priest and he finished 9th, I think it was. So you don't always have to win the race, and Bell finished ahead of him too. So I get it. There was a couple Toyotas, but to finish third place, great. Oh, by the way, he finished third place the week before as well. 2 back-to-back third places. You talked about him a little bit earlier in that head-to-head. Things are clicking. Things seem to be going well. They had a whole piece during the race on him and his new crew chief and their relationship. He was on Stacking Pennies with Corey LaJoie this week, talking about that relationship and how well it's been going and how things are doing. And it's clearly done well, for them. He was fast and impressive. So one of those third places was Homestead. By the way, again, very comparable track to this one. He was also fast at Las Vegas, showed a lot of speed, had some bad luck and didn't get the result, but looked good, which is what you like to see. He's been top 10 in 5 of the last 6 races here at Darlington. So that's pretty solid as well. 7th and 5th in the last 2 spring races. So you're telling me over the last couple of years, he's been good here already. And now we're maybe seeing that return to the intermediate Bubba Wallace that we had a few years ago when he won at Kansas, when he had all these great runs at 1.5 miles. Fucking love this. Let's go. Give me the Bubba Wallace top Toyota at 7-1. Ryan Preece top Ford 16-1. Did this last week. Worked out for us at 12-1. They gave us 16-1 this week. So just going back to the Preece, I already talked about him and made that case for the top 10. It's really all the same points. Again, in the Ford camp, the top of the board is a little bit cloudy. Like, should Joey Logano be here? Good here? Yeah, sure. Just finally got his first top 10 last week after setting the record for the longest streak of not finishing in the top 10 by the reigning champion. Blaney, should he be good? Yeah, but we've seen how things have gone for Blaney lately. Not good. Brad, Buescher, should they be good? Yeah, but Preece has been the best RFK car so far. The Ford camp is really just open in a general sense. 16-1, I think, is too good to pass up when just use the winnings from last week to play this again. And then I'm going to work in a team bet here, team winner. And I know JDK was looking at this as well. Give me RFK to be the winning team at 10-1. I don't have to choose. Is it going to be Preece this week? Is it going to be Buescher this week? Is it going to be Brad this week? Doesn't matter. It could be any of them. Brad won this race last year. Buescher maybe should have won this race last year. Preece has been the best one so far this year. You're giving me all 3 of them together in a pile, 10-1. I like it. You're not making me pick a favorite child. I get all 3 children at 10-1.
Well, you only have one, so that's very easy for you. If I had to try to do that, all hell would break loose in my house. So, definitely glad for that. But no, what I love the most about this one, especially, is that it is at double digits. It is at 10-1. This makes this so much easier to just say, and you get 3 drivers.
You could maybe, if you want to break it down, like some of them are just under 3-1, some are just over. Like Preece was just over, Brad and Buescher are just under. You could probably bet them each separately. It might pan out differently. JDK and I were also conversing about that, going back and forth. He's like, well, I could just bet Buescher and Preece. But then that's the week that Brad jumps up and wins like he did last year. I don't want to get spurned by that. So just give them all to me. And I've been all in on this team, and they've been, I guess, better and worse in different cases than I thought they would be. And as good as they were here last year in this race in particular, in the spring, kind of just going back to that at 10-1.
Indeed. We're not bringing him up here, but Dirty Reg wants to talk about Cindric really quick. Teeter-tottering forward, back and forth. But here's the thing.
The car lift last week, Cindric let us down.
Well,
Big time.
yeah, he like literally pulled the one right off. Let me read you the finishes, Dirty Rag. That way you can make the decision really quick. Austin Cindric, 18th in the spring of 2022, then 16th in the fall, 19th in the spring of 2023, 31st in the fall, 20th and 13th rather. His average finish 19.5. I don't know where you want to touch Cindric on this. I wouldn't touch him if the judge told me to show me where he hurt us on the last one.
Oh, jeez, don't be so harsh. I do like Cindric. And I used the car lift on him last week because I've been impressed with what we've seen. He's not been as good at Martinsville in the spring. Maybe that kind of, I guess, worked out there. You said you're hoping plus 250. I am seeing top 10 at plus 250 is his number. There's so many good top 10s. I just talked about a bunch of them, and I've got my favorite of all the top 10s coming up still. But it's hard to make a case for him over some of these other guys at similar or better numbers that I think we could see a good Cindric race. I'm just, I guess, not betting on it literally and figuratively.
And I agree with that. And
quite
listen,
literally.
If you're a driver and you listen to this show, which by the way, I'm sure you don't, just know that anytime we talk about you, I would love to have a beer with you. There is nothing that would bring me more joy than to sit down and have a beer with you and chat it all out.
Hey, he drives the number 2 car. They should be doing some Miller Lite throwbacks.
Oh, yeah,
Miller Lite needs to step up their game and get back into NASCAR. I'm a little disappointed in them with that, but
me too.
That's another story.
Me too. You know who I'm not disappointed in? William Byron so far this season. William Byron, average finish of 10.6, going to put him inside of the top 5 in this race. I like his top 5 number, plus 210 over on BetMGM. William Byron, if you don't know, has the best average finish overall of all drivers in the next-gen era, tied with Joey Logano at 10.3 and Christopher Bell also at 10.3. So William Byron not averaging a top 5 finish on this track, but I will say that is skewed a little bit by his 30th place finish in the fall of 2024 and his 13th place finish in the spring of 2022. Besides that, a first place finish in the spring of 2023, a 4th place finish in the fall of 2023, a 6th place finish in the spring of 2024, and an 8th place finish in the fall of 2022. Look, William Byron is the fastest in total speed rankings, according to our friends over at iFantasy Race on Darlington in the next gen stats. He's got the highest driver rating in the next gen era. He's got the highest average running position. William Byron's name sits atop of every single quantifiable list that you have here at Darlington, and you're getting him at 2-1, just a little over 2-1 for a top 5 finish. I mean, we've already talked about some of these guys that are going to be surprise top 10s. But if you've looked over the last few races, the top 5 has not been a gigantic surprise, right? It hasn't been like other than maybe Josh Berry when he happened to do that. But guess what? Who was on him? We were on him already, right? We already knew Josh Berry was going to be a front runner.
One of us did.
I already knew. I'm trying to get
you don't have to say we. I appreciate, what's yours is mine and what's mine is yours, but you can have this one, Rod. I was not on Josh Berry.
We're 600 episodes in, Cody. Allow me to give you some doggone credit.
We're podcast married at this point.
I think at 600 we become super married at that point. So legally binding is what this is becoming. But no, Byron at all, just a little over 2-1 for a top 5 car. Like I said, he's the fastest guy on this track. He's the best average finish on this track. Like literally, this is especially in the spring, right? Where William Byron is really good in the spring. We've already seen him jump out to a win at Daytona, a 2nd place at Austin, 6th at Phoenix, 4th at Vegas. It's been a rough couple weeks for that 24 team. Seems like they've kind of fallen off, but what better place than Darlington to jump back on the wagon and be good again. So give me William Byron, top 5.
He is the king of springtime, and a lot of the numbers back it up. So hard to argue with that.
The shit out of me every time with that now. Because I'm
sure it does. I'm sure it does. People driving down the road too. They're like, "Oh my god, what the fuck is that?" But hey, you made the video, so
right, I did.
It's your fault. But all right, this week's car lift, my guy Chase Elliott. That's how we're gonna ride with him. Look, my favorite bet of the week. If you are only gonna place one bet this week, top 10 plus 120. Are you fucking kidding? What are we doing? This makes no sense to me. If you're only placing one bet, like that's it. I just want a little fun. One bet. It is Chase Elliott top 10 plus 120. Absolutely fucking love this bet. We're going to ride the car lift on him. Top 5 plus 325. Top finishing Chevy at 8-1. You can get him to win on multiple books, 20-1. A little shorter in some places. So again, shop around, but multiple places do have him at that number. He's been top 10 in 4 of the last 5 races this season. So he's got all the momentum going into this as far as finishing in the top 10. I mean, really, arguably had the fastest car at points last week at Martinsville. Couldn't get that track position ahead of Denny and ends up with the 3rd or 4th place. He ended up, where did he end up? 4th place. Yeah, because I had a lot of money on him for a top 3, which is unfortunate, but that's how it goes sometimes. Yeah, but great day by him there at Martinsville. He's been top 12 in 5 of the 6 next chases here. So this isn't like, oh, he's been kind of out to lunch here. Like, he's been top 10 or very close in 5 of 6 here. Really good results. 3rd and 5th in the spring races in 22 and 23. He's been better in the spring as well. 12th place last year, so wasn't quite in the top 10, but 12th, 3rd, 5th, 7th, 4th. That's every spring race he's ever run here. If you don't know, we kind of had spring races a while, then they went away, then they kind of came back at COVID, but every spring race he's had here, he's never finished worse than 12th, and he's 4 for 5 finishing inside of the top 10. So I love that. I think that he's going to have a great day. I was big on him last week, and really it wasn't wrong, right? He didn't win the race like I thought, but he was a great DFS play. He was a good guy to bet on. He had a great day. Kind of everything worked out there. Don't hit the outright. I didn't give out the top 3 on the show, but I played it pretty heavy later in the week, unfortunately. But really, he should have been in the top 3. It just kind of didn't pan out at the end there. There's positive momentum in this 9-car camp. He's always going to be in the mix. He's generally not the most impressive guy, but you get to these more worn-out tracks, the concrete stuff, he does pretty well, and I like that for Elliott this week. So Chase Elliott, the car lift of the week, top 10, top 5, top Chevy, win the race.
Lee's ears have ended. It's a kind of a funny story because my band, the band that I'm in, performed at the NHRA hot rod, that funny car racing and the drag racing thing in Pomona this last weekend. And I didn't get to go, but I was cheering my daughter on to her competitions, which is why I missed it. Family first, kids, every time. But it's funny because all of my friends now say they have no hearing. They're like, I'm glad you texted me because I can't hear you if you call. So I just think that's
Dude, drag racing is no fucking joke when it comes to noise. That shit is fucking loud.
Yeah.
And Samuel bringing up parlay him for Xfinity. Chase is going to be running 17 car in Xfinity Series. So decent chance. We got some. Ross Chastain's in a JRM car.
I don't know. That's
Christopher Bell is in the field. It is a loaded Xfinity Series field. I'm very interested to see. I don't know if outrights have dropped yet, but very interested to see what that looks like. And no trucks this week. So, I would think hopefully tomorrow, if the odds are out, we'll have a standalone Xfinity race. And it'll be a lot of fun to talk about that one with big, heavy hitters being in that race.
Indeed. All right. My next bet is for those of you who watch NASCAR just for the wrecks, right? There are some of you out there that are like, I just watch NASCAR for the wrecks. Well, first and foremost, shut up. I hate you. But second and foremost, I love you. But here's the thing, right? I am so tired of cautions. So I just figured that I would turn this into a positive because Caesars is giving us the total number of cautions. They've set the number at 7.5. I'm going to take the over on this one. So at the very least, Cody, if there's 5 laps to go and we're sitting on 7 cautions and that 8th caution comes out, at the very least, I could be happy. Over 7.5 cautions at plus 120 for this particular race. I will go back to the 2022 Goodyear 400, 9 cautions for 47 laps in that one. In the 2023 Goodyear 400, 8 cautions for 47 laps in that one. Now, in last year's race, it was only 6 cautions for 38 laps in that particular race. But look, we have seen this time and time and time again this season. Just cautions, man. 10 cautions, a record number of cautions last week at Martinsville. We have seen 4 cautions at Miami at Homestead, but that's Homestead. That doesn't necessarily always bring itself to cautions, but 9 in Las Vegas, 9 cautions for 53 laps in Las Vegas, 10 cautions at Phoenix for 73. I mean, you want to talk about not necessarily comp tracks, but like this is not a mile and a half. This is a 1.3 miles So anywhere between a mile and a mile and a half is what I'll be caught. But 10 cautions. I will tell you right now that the drivers' tempers are starting to get very, very thin already. It's weird because it feels like this season there are already short-tempered folks on all sides of it. And I will tell you real quick that maybe I'm feeling the effects of this, and maybe it's because I'm old, or maybe it's because I watch too much NASCAR. But I got squeezed in the other day. There was a driver that was to the left of me, and she was on her phone, and she was paying, and she was like looking down at the phone, and she wasn't paying attention, and she wasn't going. And I went to her right, and I was gonna. And I looked at her, and she was on the phone. I said, "Get off your phone." And that was the first mistake. And then she starts squeezing me in, Sammy Smith style, all the way into the right, and so she doesn't allow me to turn right. Road rage is real, guys, and it's bad out there on the track. So there's a lot of more cautions that have been happening. So I like this over 7.5 cautions for all these drivers to tell the other drivers to get off their phone and get squeezed in. The lady in black is going to get hers, just like Lynn says. It does seem low. That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, this is gonna be a good race, and it's gonna be filled with cautions. So give me the over 7.5. That way, when it does turn into 8 cautions, I won't be pissed off.
Absolutely. I really don't have too much of an argument. It does seem like things are getting a little testy and chippy for sure. TK checking in. Hi guys, happy 600th. Thank you very much. We're celebrating in style, as you can see. Also, the chat blowing up. Xfinity odds are out. Bell, the favorite, at plus 125. I would like to make an addition, Rod. We're going to extend the car lift. You can get Chase Elliott to win both races over on Caesars. If you parlay him, it's 200 to 31. Something is not adding up correctly. I don't know exactly, but it's 230 to 1. $10 bet wins you $2,300 for Chase Elliott to win both races. I don't think that's that crazy of a thing. So that is the cake on top. I tried to parlay with him to win the championship. They're communists and wouldn't let me do that, unfortunately. But we'll take a week.
So what you're saying is I got to drive to Reno this weekend and place a pretty heavy bet.
I have not tried at our local casino here where we have the pleasure of being able to place our legal bets to parlay winners yet, but I will be doing that this weekend if I can.
I feel like that might be the one time that I go and place a very nice sizable bet.
Just $10. I mean, yeah, I don't know. That's what it says. So like it. I mean, yeah, I get it. Bell dominates Xfinity, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I tried to run the chalk last week in Xfinity and trucks, and that was a horrendous mistake. So
this is where I miss recap shows, Cody. This is where I miss
because I would like to have been able to go in depth a little more.
I needed the catharsis of that after the last couple of weekends, man. But whatever.
For sure.
All right, who's going to win this race, Cody?
Outright. So, of course, I gave you the Chase Elliott one as part of it. You look at the top of the board, it's tough. Like, Kyle Larson certainly could dominate and win this race. Denny Hamlin could dominate and win this race. Ryan Blaney could dominate and win this race. William Byron could dominate and win this race. There's a mixture of guys up top, but not one of them just stood out to me as I really want to be in on this guy this week. I think that, as we've kind of talked about throughout this, there's a lot of guys kind of in the mix that really could be the one that wins this. And we saw Keselowski win this in the spring. He certainly was a longer shot at that point in time. And Briscoe was definitely a long shot in the fall when he won this race. So you had two kind of upset winners last week. I'm just going to start at the 15-1 range. We're scrolling down the board a little bit, and that's where we're going to go. Not going to have any favorites in here. So I've got the L8 one, and I'm going to give you 4 guys that are a little bit longer. All right. The voodoo doll that I had, Rod, I have disposed of it properly. I've put it away. You're welcome, my friends. Let's go Chase Briscoe. I'm on the board this week. At 15-1 over on DraftKings, I think that Briscoe bet is worth it here. Of course, he just won here in the fall. 500 laps. I get it, right? All those different things. But he's the most recent winner here. You're going to have 15-1. He's made this transition over to the 19 car. It was rough kind of going to start. Who saw that coming? I don't know. Who could have seen that coming? But they maybe have started to figure it out, right? Good runs the last couple of weeks. I know you made a case against them a little bit ago, but they're starting to figure it out. And I think once things do click, look, long-term, Chase Briscoe, I think, is going to be good in this 19 car. And with Gibbs, I just thought it was going to be a rocky start. It has been. But here's where I'm kind of getting in on him. I think at this number, it's good. 2 top 10 finishes in a row now, of course, these last couple of weeks. So give me the Briscoe part of this at 15-1. The guy you took against him in the head-to-head, Bubba Wallace. I am also on him. I love Bubba this week. I talked about him already for the top Toyota bet. 3rd place the last 2 weeks in a row. Things are clicking on all levels for him. He's got that new dad energy and really that could be the biggest part of it, right? The new dad thing. He's got the energy. He's got the confidence. Like, he is confident in himself. He knows he can do it, and he's been performing. This is the time you want to be in on Bubba Wallace at 16-1. I like that. Again, he's been top 10 and 5 of the last 6 races here, 7th and 5th in the last 2 spring races. So been in the mix. We've seen Bubba, intermediate Bubba before, that's gone off and just whipped ass and kicked ass at Kansas like he did when he won that race a couple of years ago. We could certainly get that again. And you've seen it at Vegas, he was fast. You saw it at Homestead, he was fast. I like all those things. Give me Bubba Wallace 16-1. DraftKings again, our buddies over there had some good odds this week for the outrights. Alex Bowman 35-1. Guy we haven't talked about. I didn't want to overload you too bad with top 10s, but if you want to consider it, I will not say not to do it because he's been top 10 in 5 of 7 races so far this season. He's been really good for us. Look, last week didn't work out. I get it. Things just go wrong sometimes. He's got iffy results here in an overall sense. I will say that. A lot of not great runs by him, and I think that's why I stayed away from his top 10 more so this week. But he's been top 10 in the last 2 spring races here. Had a 2nd place run here back in 2020. And he was super fast at Homestead. He looked good. Really had a chance to win. He was leading with 30 laps to go or 20 laps to go, something like that, before Larson ended up getting up there and around him. So I think at 35-1, that's over on MGM where I got that number is good for him. And then long shot. Can something crazy. Look, if Josh Berry can win at Las Vegas, it's hard to rule out a lot of people, right? Justin Haley 250-1 on ESPN. It's probably not going to happen, right? We understand this, but long shots and upsets can happen. He finished in the top 10 in a Rick Ware car last year. I'm not going to count this guy out. He's got Rodney Childers as the crew chief. Maybe they just hit it this week. Maybe things all line up for him at 250-1. You made the big case on the top 10, and I really, really love that bet at 9-1 as well. But I think it's worth a sprinkle at 250-1. Maybe this is the week. Maybe it's strategy that gets him up there, puts him in the right position. He's been good on this track. I like it.
And it's not like you're taking somebody who's never won a race in his entire life. Guess what? Justin Hayes has won at least 1 NASCAR Cup Series race in his entire life and 4 Xfinity races. So yeah, I mean, this is not without complete and total merit. So love that. 250-1. Go for it and have fun. Talked about my outright already as a top 5 driver. I might as well just put him on the top step of the podium. William Byron, 9-1. I feel like he's woefully mispriced at this one, given the fact that, like I said, he is the top of the charts in every measurable aspect on this particular track, and you've got him at 9-1. I understand that it is sexy to have Larson right there, right? And Hamlin, he just won a race and all that other great stuff. But again, if you look back at this track and the winners of this track, all right, Chase Briscoe in the fall of last year, Keselowski in the spring, Larson, Byron, Jones, Logano, Hamlin, Truex, Harvick, Hamlin. Like, there's very few when you get up to the next gen era repeat winners on this track. So somebody's going to probably win that hasn't won before. But I think of the guys that have already won, I think William Byron stands a really good shot at doing it on this particular track. I already read you all of his measurables, so I'm not going to go through it again. But 9-1 just feels like a misprice because you're focusing on the fact that, you know, that he hasn't won since Daytona or whatever it is. I don't know what the books are focusing on this particular track, but you're putting a guy that's been as successful as he has in his career on this track at 9-1. You have to jump on that. It's almost like the Hamlin situation from last week, right? Hamlin had done nothing to make you feel confident about winning heading up until last week, but it was Martinsville. It was his home track. There was so many things. He hadn't won in a decade. I get that. I understand there's so many reasons for you to not bet Hamlin, but you do it anyways because at that point, something had to give. Byron, I feel like it's the same thing, right? We've seen him win like 7 races in 4 races in the spring already. And this week or this season, he's only won Daytona. So there's something has got to give. The dam has got to break. He's going to have to win another race sooner rather than later. And this is as good a spot as any on a track that he's damn good at to win it. So 9-1 over on DK, best price for him. Give me William Byron to win this race.
Yeah, hard to argue too much with that. I mean, if you're going to go land with one of the favorites, he's got all the best stats if you're really dig
But he's
into
not even
it.
the favorite. That's the thing.
Oh, I know. That just has the group of favorites. But yeah, he's almost twice the price you're getting on Larson at some books. So, I do agree that I think that he's a good pick, and he's a springtime guy. He just performs better in the spring. This race has got moved up a little bit. It's even earlier than it has been previous seasons. So I like it.
Maybe he's a positive guy and he just loves spring. Me, I'm a fall guy, right? I'm one of those guys that's melancholy, and I like the cold, and I like the cloudy, and I like
William Byron, big allergy seasons guy, loves it. It's great, and he just does well. Who knows?
I hate sneezing. I hate rubbing my eyes. I hate all that stuff. So, but you know what I don't hate? Going over all of our bets for this Martinsville or this Darlington race, Martinsville. That was last week, Rod. This Darlington race, the Goodyear 400. Get out your pen and paper, or if you're watching on the YouTubes, you can screenshot this one for your future reference. I started you out with Bubba Wallace over Chase Briscoe at -110 over on ESPN Bet. I tossed in Zane Smith to win Group F on Caesars at +220 over Austin Hill, Ricky Stenhouse, and Cole Custer. I also gave you Brad Keselowski as a top 10 car, +140 over on Bet365. Then I gave you Justin Haley as a top 10 car at 9-1 on 365. I tossed in William Byron as a top 5 car at +210. Then I said there will be over 7.5 cautions in this race at +120, but only because I want to have a reason to cheer for those yellow flags rather than get pissed off and throw my rubber brick at them. And then I gave you William Byron at 9-1 to win this race. If you need a new pencil, I'll give you a second to get it out as we go over Cody's bets for this race. Cody gave you Denny Hamlin as a top 5 car at +100, even money on this one. He also gave you Josh Berry as a top 10 car at +160. He gave you Chris Buescher as a top 10 car at +130. Ty GIbbs as a top 10 car at +220. He gave you Ryan Preece as a top 10 car at +250. But wait, there's more. Get Todd Gilliland as a top 10 car at 9-1. Zane Smith as a top 10 car at 9-1. Bubba Wallace, the top Toyota at 7-1. Ryan Preece as the top Ford at 16-1. And then, of course, RFK as a team win. So any one of those guys can win. 10-1 is what it'll get you back. We're riding the Elliott car lift this week. Top 10 at +120. Top 5 +325. Top Chevy at 8-1. And to win, 20-1. Outrights for Cody, Chase Briscoe at 15-1, Bubba Wallace at 14-1, Alex Bowman at 35-1, and Justin Haley at 252-1 to win the Goodyear 400 from the Darlington Raceway in Darlington, South Carolina. Cody, it's throwback weekend. Let's throw back to episode 1. Let's all be awkward and scared of the microphone and, go back to how we felt.
Yeah, I just like to thank Bob and Joe, the bosses. Oh wait, that's not their names. Fuck.
Oh my God, you totally screwed that up.
I didn't go. I wasn't that bad. I completely fucked up the bosses' names in the first episode. Not a great start, but 600. We're here. Cheers to that. Good night, Ash. I believe it's about 3 a.m. there now for Ash. So thank you for the congrats and sweet dreams to you. Glad we didn't put you to sleep during the show, but glad we could get you ready for bed now, I guess.
Wait, I got one thing on the board that I want to play this backward. Hold on.
I'm going to toss in a bonus for you. I talked about him in the DFS show. I can't quit this guy. Corey LaJoie. I'm going to bet him at every super speedway race until the end of time, no matter what. He's at +25,000. Just throw a little bit on it. That's 250-1 odds. You throw down $1 and you win a bunch. So
he was leading with 2 laps to go. 2 laps to go. He was leading. And we didn't cash that bet, unfortunately.
That was my throwback. What is this one? What's this one?
Last year.
Oh, that's you.
We already talked.
Oh, that's you again.
That's
you again. All right. There's a lot of you on this board, but
a lot of me. Hey, Corey LaJoie returns to racing next week at Bristol, by the way. So might have to find a way to bet on him there.
There you go. Love it. All right. Hey, listen, guys. I got to tell you, I know this one was a pretty supersized edition of it, but it's because we had time, first and foremost. Second of all, it's because it's 600. This is a very monumental number in any podcaster's life. I've never had a show ever last this long. And the fact of the matter is it has. And it's because you guys continue to make this show the top performer that it is. And I mean, I'm humbled every time I sit down at this microphone. Cody and I were just talking about it before we jumped on. Both of us have had days that have been kind of like, meh. But anytime we come in here, anytime we sit
Thanks
down.
for reminding me. I had forgot, Rob.
Well, you're going to remember once you hit the stop button on this one. But look, when we sit down with you guys on a now 3-day-a-week basis, it just all melts away. You guys are the reason we do this. We love each and every one of you. We're not here for the models. We're not here for the, anything other than just to have fun with you guys, talk NASCAR, give you our favorite picks from the stuff that we derive and all the conversations that we have over the course of the Discord, which we are plugging right now in SGPN world, but we've been plugging with you guys since day one. So yeah, I mean, listen, from the bottom of my heart to the bottom of all of your guys, thank you. Thank you for making this show a thing. Thank you for continuing to make the bosses see the importance of this show, and that we just, 600 episodes, Cody, it just still blows my mind.
Yeah, it's a crazy big number. So it's all thanks to you. This show was your idea, so shout out to you for that. And I'm glad you just happened to pick a little no podcasting guy to ride along with you. So been a fun ride. Look, if you made it this far, 121 minutes into this, go click the subscribe over on the YouTube. That's the biggest push from the bosses right now. Helps us out a ton. We've had some bonus stuff over there. Been put a lot of underdog videos up. So shout out to you guys. The bosses have noticed that too, because they can, underdog gives us feedback when you use that promo code and sign up. When you replay later on, once you've used that promo code, like that gives credit for us and bonuses and all that. So it's great. And it's not gone unnoticed. So we appreciate it. And yeah, we're actually getting close to 900 subscribers over on the YouTube, trying to hit that 1,000 number here soon. So we appreciate you guys. We'll be back tomorrow with Xfinity Series talk. Looks like a decent amount of odds are up already. So I have full faith that we'll be able to have a full Xfinity show tomorrow. Some DFS stuff on Thursday. Throwback weekend, baby. Let's fucking go.
Let's go. All right. Well then, Cody, as we turn everybody away for the evening and let them start betting up their own cards, let everyone know for the 600th time where they can find you on social media.
Yeah, follow me over on the X at Husker_Zeeb. You can find all of my stuff over there. Follow the show as well at NASCAR Gambling. Like I said, hit that subscribe button, hit that like, leave us a fresh review on Spotify, 5 stars, Apple Podcasts, all that stuff. Every little thing helps us out tremendously. We're going to be here for 600 more shows, so might as well subscribe now and buckle up and get ready for the ride.
Oh, for the love of God, we ain't going anywhere. I got to tell you right now. If we made it 600, we can make it another 6,000 more. So right. I'm all about it. Yeah, follow me on Twitter at RJ Villagomez, link in about everything I've got going on. Whether it's here, make sure you check out the back road. Seth and Elliott will be holding down for you. Throwback style at Darlington coming up on Thursday. And yeah, catch us in Discord, man. That's where we all have the most fun and talk everything through. And you can get in early and not have Haley at 9-1. You can get him at 10-1 when it drops. So, all right, everybody, we love you. We'll see you guys tomorrow for Xfinity and for Xfinity. I was almost gonna say truck, but there's no trucks. But until then, thanks for 600, everybody. Let's go racing and let it ride.